This week we continue in the Gospel of John, where Jesus is continuing in his farewell discourse to his disciples. And in this conversation, he is talking about his going away, and his disciples are becoming a bit anxious what this means for them, what this means for the future, and what this means for the continued ministry of Jesus that they shared. And the thing that he is approached with, that Jesus is approached with, is Judas, not Iscariot, approaches him with this question: how is it that you will reveal yourself to us and not to the world? And Jesus answers him that those who love me will keep my word, and my Father will love them, and we will come to them and make our home with them. Now, there was always this idea, especially in ancient Israel, that God had this central place in the temple, or that God came to specific people. But with the ministry of Jesus, of God incarnate, God was among the people. It wasn't necessarily that people went up to the temple or, made sacrifices to God, because Jesus was going to make the ultimate sacrifice. So Jesus was naming that the way that this is going to happen is that the advocate will be sent, who is the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is often called the Paraclete or the advocate. And this is how Jesus will remain with them. Not specifically in the flesh as they saw, but in a way that Jesus will still abide in them, with them, through them. And Jesus knew, we can tell in this text, that there was a lot of fear around this, because this is the second time in this gospel that Jesus tells the disciples, do not let your hearts be troubled. Do not be afraid. Because Jesus says, peace I leave with you. And that to trust that even though Jesus is going away, this is a good thing that is going to happen for the church, for them, and for the world. Jesus going to the cross was a good thing for all of God's creation. And I think about in our own lives this week as I'm reading this gospel, I can think of times in my life where I have been afraid and where I have felt I wished for God's presence to be known, and, there to be this physical presence. Or I think of, the idea of peace. And sometimes we can equate peace with meaning like financial security and stability and all going well in life. And yes, those are things that remain peaceful, or no conflict even. The peace, though, that Jesus is talking about in our time of fear is the peace that is rooted in God's shalom. And the word in Hebrew is something more than just all being right in our relationships or our life. It is wholeness, completeness, and it is the fullness of life that is found in God. It doesn't necessarily mean that we will be absent of trouble, but what it does mean is that since Jesus is with us, we have peace knowing that we do not journey alone. That in whatever area of our life we are called to, whatever people we encounter to serve or to love, we can trust that loving God is the direction to go. We can trust that the Holy Spirit is with us, especially when we feel we don't know the way, or maybe we don't have the words to say. We can trust that this gift of the Holy Spirit is with us, and God's abiding presence is not some off in the distance place where we have to go to. No, God is here right with you in the good times, in the challenging times, and that you don't have to be afraid because you are wrapped in God's love and carried in this journey. We'll also hear this Sunday about Paul's ministry and how he has a dream to go to Macedonia. There's a man in the dream saying, "Come and help us." And he actually shows up, and he doesn't really seem to know what to do. He goes in and prays, and they start talking to a bunch of women. And one of the women in that group is Lydia, who is a cloth merchant. And she, by hearing the testimony of Jesus Christ, turns in faith to God. It's in those mysterious moments of our life that we do not know where God leads us, but that in that journey, we are used through God to be the hands and feet to a world in need of God's love, to hear the gospel, and we can trust that the Holy Spirit is there to guide us. We can be the Paul to somebody's Lydia, or maybe in our own life we can feel like the Lydia where a Paul has shown up for us. And it is because of the power of the Spirit in our lives. So this week, as we are coming close to the season of Pentecost, we will hear about how we do not need to be afraid, that the peace of God is given as a gift to us, and that we are not alone. Thanks be to God for that. See you this Sunday.